Hey guys, this month has National Popover Day in it. So we're here today to make raspberry popovers. And popovers are kind of difficult. It's kind of like the concept of, oh, my souffle might flop. They can be flopovers. I'm gonna give you a few tips to make sure that you don't have flopovers instead of yummy popovers. So the first thing you're gonna do is heat your oven to 450. So it's nice and hot. You're gonna set out a cup of whole milk. And I set this out about 2 hours ago so that it would come to room temperature. And that's one of the key things, is that if your popovers don't pop, then your ingredients are probably too cool or cold. So I've let my milk come to room temperature, a cup of milk. I've got a cup of all-purpose flour sifted and already measured out. We're gonna do raspberry popovers, so I've taken out a raspberry for each little popover. This is gonna make 6 popovers. And so I've also let them come to room temperature, and I took my eggs out last night, farm eggs out last night, and set them on the counter. So I'm gonna crack those 2 eggs real quick. And I always crack into a separate bowl just to make sure that my egg's okay. And I save my eggshells and put them into the garden. I sun dry them. I first soak them in water, and then I use that water on my plants. It's great vitamins for the plants, so minerals and nutrients. Okay, so I'm gonna rinse my hands real quick. I've got 2 eggs, room temp, a cup of all-purpose flour, a cup of milk, and I've got a half a teaspoon of Himalayan salt. You can use Celtic salt, sea salt, whatever you want to use. I prefer this. So half a teaspoon of that. And then I've got a tablespoon and a half of melted butter. And I've reserved the half a tablespoon in this, and I've got a tablespoon in here. And we're going to put it in the blender. So I'm going to put my milk in first. And all of this stuff is room temperature, and the butter is melted. So it's a little better than room temp. I'm gonna add my butter, and how can you go wrong with butter? Butter is probably my most favorite ingredient, other than chocolate or coffee. So I've got my butter in there. I'm gonna put my flour in. Again, I sifted it beforehand. I'm gonna put my eggs. All room temp. Half a teaspoon of salt, so it has a nice flavor. And I'm gonna put my lid on. That's it. And I'm just gonna pulse for about 30 seconds. We're gonna come back, and I've got my oven heated to 450. They have popover pans. I don't have one, so I'm just gonna use my muffin tin. I'm gonna use that half tablespoon of butter and grease 6 of the openings in my muffin tin in the meantime. And this is key. You've got room temp ingredients, but after I finish pulsing this for 30 seconds, I'm literally going to let it sit for 40 minutes to an hour before I deal with this, okay? That's key. That helps you keep your popovers from being flopovers, okay? Okay, I've got my room temp raspberries. I've got some powdered sugar for when they come out of the oven. And what we're gonna do is I've got my popover pan, my muffin tin in this case, in the 450-degree oven for 10 minutes. And I greased it with that remaining butter, and I greased it really well. So I'm gonna pull that out because it's been 10 minutes in the oven, and then we're going to evenly distribute our batter into 6 of the openings in the muffin tin. gonna look a little, the butters were very browned. Doesn't matter, just go with it. And I'm gonna pulse this for just a second. Make sure everything's mixed. And I'm gonna evenly distribute. Now, I used to live in New Jersey. That's where I met my husband. And there was a restaurant in Mountain Lakes, New Jersey called Phoebe Snow's. And it was a restaurant from, they turned a train station into a restaurant. It was very quaint. It was an all stone building near Mountain Lake. And they served salads and light sandwiches. And their signature thing was popovers. And they would just bring them out in these cute little baskets with gingham napkins inside the basket. And they were nice and warm, and they served melted butter on the table and fruit. They were just delicious. I'm kind of evenly doing this. We're gonna have, because it's not a popover pan, they're more shallow. So I've got a good bit of batter left over. There we go. I'm gonna pop a raspberry in there, in each one. Again, room temp. Remember, that's key. Cold ingredients will produce the flop over. Okay, so I've popped a raspberry in there. I'm gonna carefully take this, put it in the 450-degree oven, and we're gonna bake it for 20 minutes. And after 20 minutes, we're gonna reduce the heat to 350, and then we're going to bake them about 15 to 20 minutes more. And you want the low end. I've used my top oven. You want the low end, low level of your oven, which doesn't matter with mine since it's a top oven, it's shallow anyway. So 20 minutes, reduce the heat to 350, and then about 15 to 20 minutes more at 350. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes since I put the popovers in the oven, and one thing I didn't mention was resist the urge to open the oven. Do not open your oven while these are baking. You can turn on the light, you can peek in the window, but don't open. So I'm gonna pull these out. And they look fantastic. I'm like so proud. I was worried when I do these videos, I never know how it's gonna go, and sometimes we have to do 2 or 3 tries on things. So I'm gonna just slide my knife around. Because I greased it with that butter, they are just literally going to pop out. And look at that. Isn't that great looking? Perfect. And I can smell the raspberry. I've got some melted butter here. I'm gonna drizzle on top of that. I've got some powdered sugar. And it's probably gonna be too hot for me to taste of right this minute. I'm gonna pop this open. Oh, it's just gorgeous. Take this knife. Just gorgeous, nice eggy batter in the center, and you can see the little raspberry. I'm gonna bring it around so you can see it. That's just great. Nice steam coming from it. I've opened it up to cool off so I can give you a bite, or myself a bite. I'm gonna show you. See, they're already sinking a little bit. See the steam coming out? So let's have a little taste. I'm gonna dredge it in my powdered sugar here. A little butter. Fantastic. So don't be intimidated by popovers. You can do it. I did it in a muffin tin, and look how great they turned out, and they are absolutely delicious. Thanks for joining us.